Welcome to the UI experience. Welcome to the UI experience.
Good afternoon, good people. Good afternoon. This is yours truly, Jalal Pitts, Ghost in the Machine, with the 25th, the lucky anniversary 25th edition of the Urban Intellectuals Daily Show. I want to thank everybody out there in internet listening land for tuning in to hear us give our take and our spiel on current events. And if you don't know, and if you didn't see the badges that were placed around different social media sites, our toll number is 712-775-7031 if you want to participate, and 712-775-7029 if you just want to listen. Or you can go to freeconferencecall.com/wall/UI if you just want to engage in our chat feature that we have in the middle of our page. Today, I am joined by three of my better friends. Here with me today is Patrick, and I got UI Jane, and I got Terry Banks, the usual suspects, as we say. And before I get this show started, UI Jane, can you tell us?
Hello, everyone. As usual, I'm asking you guys to go to www.ui.urbanintellectuals.com/members and join our membership. We're only asking for $24 a year, $2 a month, whichever one you prefer. You could join our membership again at www.urbanintellectuals.com/membership, or to donate your heart's desire, go to www.urbanintellectuals.com/donate.
And I thank you. And as usual, as we always say, the importance of that is because in today's society, the revolution might not be televised, but it must be funded. So give to your heart's content. Topic number one, ladies and gentlemen, as we move along. Is there a double standard in domestic violence? Recently, there has been a report that surfaced that one of America's darlings, the former goalie of the United States national soccer team, Hope Solo, was arrested for an altercation with family members that happened at some type of family gathering, family reunion, or what have you. About a year and 3 months ago, there was also a separate report that ex-WNBA star Shamika Holdsclaw, number one draft pick out of Tennessee, three-time national champion, 12-year WNBA player, fired gunshots into the vehicle of her girlfriend after she had, basically smashed all the windows out. And she's also a WNBA player named Jennifer Lacey. And my question is I wonder where the outrage is when women engage in domestic violence. I'm going to start out ladies first. Miss Jane, what is your thoughts on that particular subject?
Yes, there is a double standard when it comes to women because, throughout time, women have been looked at as something that's gentle and harmless and, we're dainty. So there's no way that we could possibly inflict harm to another human being because women their minds don't even conceive to do any harm to another human being. I think with the times, because if you do the research, women prisons are popping up across the country now. There are some people that are getting it. And most women are in prison for one or two things: crime of passion, doing something domestic violence toward their significant other, or, of course, money crime. But it's a double standard. I mean, we're catching up with the times now. You have your shows, Snap, Not Wives with Knives, and all those shows that are starting to shine the spotlight on the fact that women also commit domestic violence acts probably at the same rate as men, if not more sometimes. But, yes, there's definitely a double standard when it comes to women committing crimes. I mean, again, we look at it as dainty and harmless. And if a woman was to hit a man, the first thing they'll say is, ha, 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 you couldn't take it? You couldn't take a little hit from a girl? Not realizing that when someone is inflicting pain on you, whether it's a man or a woman, it's wrong. But, yes, it's definitely a double standard.
Well, taking that point into account and knowing that media in America is largely driven by male personalities, do you think that there is a conscious effort by males to not push that particular side of the story?
Yes, I don't think it's as entertaining. It's more entertaining to hear about, unfortunately, to make a man look bad. Because you got to realize, of course, back in the day, women were being beat. And it was something that was, pushed under the table and, people didn't want to talk about it. But now it sells stories. Now the feminist groups have sprung up and they just run away with it. And I think it's more the feminist groups making a big deal out of it than the media. The media catch on because the feminist groups make such an outrage about it. But if it wasn't for that, I don't think it would be, people wouldn't care. Because, again, I'm quite sure everybody knows someone right now in their family that's getting, whether it's a man or a woman, that's in an abusive relationship. So it's only because they're pushing it. When the feminists and women's rights groups, they're pushing the issue. Because if it wasn't for that, I don't think anyone would think twice to hear about it.
Patrick, what do you think?
I definitely think there is a double standard involved in the way we treat domestic violence, and I agree with what Erica said as for the reasons, for a long time, women were seen as less imposing, and they were seen as less threatening, and men for the longest time have been the physically dominant species of the two. And back in the days when domestic violence first showed up, there was no real talk of emotional domestic violence or any of those other type, verbal abuse, emotional abuse, or any of those other type of abuses that we have nowadays. It was just, all is fair as long as you don't put your hands on them, or, whatever the case may be. And it also goes back to these old school standards of men being unemotional creatures, of men not being allowed to really display emotions and outbursts or anything like that. Now, to be clear, we're not trying to justify domestic abuse, but what we should be doing is trying to counsel both parties to ensure that these things don't happen moving forward. I mean, if a woman spits in a man's face or punches a man in the face or slaps a man in the face or whatever the case may be, it's one thing, and it's never really paid attention to until the man responds. And then it's just like you used to hear in school, the person who initiates never gets in trouble. It's always the person that responds. Well, in the case of domestic abuse, domestic violence, it's almost always the man who is going to get in trouble whether he responds or not. And domestic violence is laid out now in such a way that a man can't respond other than to do what Jay-Z did in the elevator, which is just sit there and take it and then hope that the backlash he gets for being a quote-unquote punk isn't as bad as the backlash he would get from responding, because you can't grab a woman nowadays with aggressive intent. You can't shake women. You hear people talking about now, I shake the hell out of a chick. That still counts. yeah, you can still get put away for that. So, there is no recourse. But, when we look at all these cases, we see case after case after case of women abusing women, women abusing men, women abusing anything and everything you can think of at this point, and nobody ever really talking about it. But as soon as a man puts his hands on a woman, there's this huge stink, and the man is just blasted. And again, I'm not saying that he doesn't deserve to be blasted, but and as far as talking about the double standard, we definitely need to look at the total situation, and we definitely need to look at all parties and how all parties' actions contributed to the escalating of the situation. Because just like we expect a man to hold himself to a standard that he would never put his hands on a woman, we should expect women to hold themselves to the same standard, that they would never put their hands on a man. And we should hope that both people will hold themselves to a standard that neither will initiate or escalate a situation to the point where it gets physically violent. But right now, that's just not happening for a whole bunch of different reasons.
And you made a good point, and I'm going to get to you in a second, TB, but I just want to put this out there as well, because I should have led with this. I don't want anybody out there that's listening to this to get the idea that we are somehow downplaying domestic violence as far as men on women. This is not a say like they do us about black-on-black violence. As soon as a white person kills a black man, the first thing they say is, what y'all complaining about? What about black-on-black violence? We are not saying that male-on-female violence is any less abhorrent simply because women do certain things. What we're trying to say is that in this society, there are more women than there are men. And if it's a problem with domestic violence as far as men is concerned, there's also a problem as far as women is concerned. And what I'm attempting to do is get some ideas of how we can, separate the wheat from the chaff, as the old folks used to say. Let's separate the real from the imaginary. And how can we deal with this entire subject of domestic violence, no matter who it is, woman on man, man on woman, child on child, child on parents, whatever the case may be. TB, jump in, brother.
All right, I will jump right in on this. Both cases, both Shamiqua Holdsclaw and Hope Solo, their cases are different in how they both occurred. Shamiqua Holdsclaw actually tried to commit suicide in 2006. She suffers from depression. And so there's some personal and psychological issues that are going on in her mind. And so at the time that she committed her offense last year, we didn't have this big issue of Ray Rice. We didn't have Adrian Peterson in the media. And the media is full of devils. There's just no other way to put it. They are there to do one thing. They are there to sell advertising to the hundreds of millions of dollars that exist in these corporations. And the way that you sell these advertisements is that you need to have controversy. There has to be a reason for people to tune into your show. There has to be a reason for people to listen to your radio show. There has to be a reason for people to buy your magazines. So Shamiqua Holdsclaw and Hope Solo's instances are not large enough to draw those kinds of ratings. And so behind the scenes, the media is saying, why pay attention to this when it's not going to help us sell any ads? But when you look at a big name like Ray Rice and you look at a huge name like Adrian Peterson, immediately those are going to draw ads. They're going to draw ads because people are going to tune in by the millions to listen to what's going on now, which is the attack of these men's characters, reputations, and personalities. So there's always going to be a double standard because they see women as being the quote-unquote lesser, strong sex and all this kind of thing. But nowadays, women are equally as strong as men. Women are bigger than men. You got women that are 6'8", 6'9". If you look at Brittany Griner, that girl is 6 feet 9 inches tall. And if she decided she wanted to beat on a man, what's the man supposed to do? So if he would have hit her, is he now just that much more guilty of being a bad person because he's trying to fight back this 6 foot 8 inch woman and he's standing 5'9"? So it's about ratings. It's about the controversy that's involved. As far as Hope Solo's instance, the reason why people are upset about Hope Solo's case is because of Ray Rice's case. If you got him in the media now and you're lambasting him, you should be doing the same thing to Hope Solo, not allowing her to play soccer because she's trying to break records. And that's why people are mad. Okay, Hope Solo did the same thing that Ray Rice did. She used physical violence to express her anger against two other people. Ray Rice used physical violence. Hope Solo used physical violence. They are exactly the same thing. All should be held accountable, regardless of gender or relationship to another. So to let her continue to play because you want her to break a record while you basically have told Ray Rice, we don't even want you in the league anymore, is absolutely a double standard and is dead wrong. So until everyone is as outraged when women commit violent acts against whomever as they are with men, you're always going to have these debates go on.
Good points. Anybody else have anything to add to that? I sound like I heard somebody trying to talk.
Well, I wanted to follow up with, because, the thing here is, and Terry always does a good job of getting my mind rolling. I always feel like I start out slow. and then he goes, Erica winds me up. She always gets me emotional and whatnot, gets the emotions flowing. And then for some reason, the last few shows, Terry has done a real good job of clearing my head. But I do want to, we have to talk about this thing, the domestic violence numbers that are out there. And I do remember reading somewhere, I believe the group was a man's advocacy group called Parity. And I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure I'm right. And I'll look it up as I'm typing so I can correct, or as I'm talking so I can correct myself. But I believe the numbers that they found was that 40% of domestic violence cases are men being victimized. So there's even a glossing over of the image of the picture. 28% of women will be over the age of 16 have been abused. 16% of men over the age of 16 have been abused. So it's not like it's just such a rare occurrence that we're finding men being abused. Men are actually being abused in pretty decent numbers nowadays. And I mean, like you said, women are just as big as men. My sister is 5'7". She can bench press 135 pounds 10 times. I know several grown men that can't bench press 100 pounds 5 times. So, it just is one of those things where we just have to begin to look at the whole picture. We have to begin to to analyze the entire picture. We have to begin to talk about a culture that says it's okay for women to be emotional and to display their emotion in whatever way that they feel is necessary to display their emotion. But it's not okay for men to be emotional at all. And essentially, in my opinion, that's basically the lesson that's being taught nowadays to our children. If you're a woman, if you're a little girl, it's okay for you to be emotional. That's deemed as womanly. It's okay, and it's okay for you to have your outburst and to be stank and to be this and to be that and to have your attitude and to lash out. All that's okay because it's expected. Now, obviously, we have some grown women, some ladies that don't ascribe to that, and those are wonderful people, and I love you all. But the culture seems to be promoting this idea that it's okay for a woman to be emotionally immature, but it's not okay for a man to be emotionally immature when it comes to dealing with emotions on the extreme ends. Now, we all know women have a lot more, they mature emotionally faster than men. But again, when it comes to those extreme instances, it's okay for a woman to bust out crying when she's sad. It's okay for her to lash out when she's angry. It's okay for her to shut down when she's frustrated. It's okay for her to do all these things. But as a man, you need to be even keeled. You need to be stable no matter what you're feeling. You need to put a Band-Aid on it and keep trucking forward. And we really have to analyze that aspect of our culture moving forward if we really want to get a handle on this whole domestic violence thing.
Well, look at this. Let me just hit these details real quick about Hope Solo to back that point up, Patrick. What she did to actually lead to this was she was drinking. And so now she starts to get intoxicated, and she goes to her sister's house and just starts taunting her nephew, calling him fat and unathletic. So, of course, the young 17-year-old boy gets mad. He's like, he starts arguing with her, and then she decides to go off and start hitting him. So her sister, which is the mother of the 17-year-old, she intervenes. Of course, you're going to do that. You're going to try to stop this, your sister from beating up on your son, and then she starts to attack him too. So this all happened because of one reason. She was mad because her boyfriend refused to take her to the airport to catch a flight. You see, now that again, look at the circumstances behind why she decided to act out physically. One, you've been drinking. So we go back to the whole thing about alcohol. And then you look at the fact that you're mad because your boyfriend won't take you to the airport, so you decide to start calling your nephew out of his name, and then when the mother intervenes, you decide to attack both of them. So, yes, it's exactly what you're saying, Patrick. It's about emotions in this woman boiling to the surface, aided by drinking, and now we're trying to play her up as if she's some type of celebrity star that should not be held accountable to the same standard. Yes, she should be sitting down. She should not be in goal, if for no other reason because you are a terrible role model in that you got drunk, you assaulted your nephew, you assaulted your sister, and they still going to let you play soccer. Yes, absolutely a double standard to be sure.
You know what? It goes back to, I tell a lot of people, that's because we're not taught how to deal with our anger in general. We're not taught how to express our emotions, and that's not a race issue. People just aren't taught how to take that negative anger or negative energy that you have and how to deal with it. I have a question I want to ask you guys, and maybe this is just me being the way I feel differently about domestic violence than most women do. If a woman hit a man, bam, I punch a man in the face, my boyfriend in the face, and in return he beat me up, am I the victim of a domestic violence situation? Because in my eyes, I'm not. If a woman hit a man and that man in return beats her up, to me she's not a victim of domestic violence. If a woman spits on a man and he defends himself, whatever the case, you're not a victim of domestic violence to me. Like I tell people all the time, if I hit a man and he beat me up, I lost the fight. I'm not a victim of domestic violence. I picked the fight, and unfortunately, I lost it. So again, we have to learn how to word. A person that's in a domestic violence situation to me is that woman at home. She's scared she can't contact her family and her friends about her situation. She gets beat on night and day for no reason. All women aren't victims of domestic violence. Sometimes they pick their battles when they choose to hit a man first.
Okay, and that's a good point, and that's something I think we dealt with to a certain extent a couple of weeks ago, and this is my thought on it. Everything should be met with equivalence, right? And I know Terry, I know Patrick, I know both of y'all probably got an answer to that question. We're gonna move that to another day because that's an hour worth of conversation right there. And I want to move on to our other topics. But this is my thought in answer to that question. Yeah, I get to do that because I'm the moderator. This is my thought. Equivalence. If E.T., you 5 foot nothing, 100 and nothing pounds, if you hit me, you black my eye, bust my lip, bust my nose, I still should not be so enraged that I break your arm, that I run your head into the wall, that I burn you with a cigarette, because then I have gone above and beyond the pale of what actually happened. Because what you got to understand, this is why brothers and white dudes too, this is why they don't win that argument in court. Because you have the right to defend yourself as long as a threat exists. My girl could hit me in my eye. She might catch me off guard, break my jaw, whatever. She might even knock me out. You see what I'm saying? But if my girl steals on me, if a woman still on you, if you hit her one time, 9 times out of 10, that threat has been removed. It's when you start kicking her in the ribs and stomping on her head. That's not self-defense. That's assault. That's what brothers and white guys and men in general, that's what y'all don't get about how the legal system works. That's what happened to Ray Rice. Yeah, his woman lunged at him. Yeah, we saw in the video earlier before they got into the elevator, she slapped at him or done whatever. But come on now. You can't chin check your woman like that and say self-defense. It don't work like that. And for that, we're going to move on to our second topic. I know a lot of people got probably a lot of, comeback on that, and we'll deal with that in a subsequent show.
Yeah, because you got to let us be able to answer that question.
No,
I'm not today. Itching, man. I know what I'm saying. I'm itching inside of my gut, and I'm trying.
You marinate on that.
Oh my God, I'm stewing in it, bro. I'm truly marinating.
Marinate on that. Anyway, topic number 2, good people. 4 gang members arrested and charged in the death of a 9-year-old boy after reportedly believing that the child was signaling other gang members. My question is not, are they wrong? Are they right? We all know that they're wrong. My question is, what do we do about gangs in our community? How do we prevent situations like this from happening in the future? Now, of course, we know that there have been numerous studies and numerous reports and articles have been written, speeches have been given, outlining basically whatever tactics that we might use to, deal with the gang situation that exists in most of our communities. But I was wondering what you guys thought. Terry, you first, and you can't go back to the other subject either.
No, I won't. I'll stick with this because when we have that one, I definitely will jump back on that one. But when it comes to the gangs, let's look at what used to happen when we were younger. I happen to be over 50, and so I know when I was growing up, gangs did not exist as they do now because it was a different America. There was a working America. People had jobs. People were interested in motivating forces like futures and buying homes and raising families. There was something to look forward to. Since that time, with the taking away of the jobs, with all the jobs moving overseas, with men being out of work, and with the world just collapsing in ignorance as it is now with all this evilness, people have lost hope. People have nothing else to turn to. So in the inner cities, that has turned itself into what we now have as gangs, because these young brothers and even these young sisters who are out here banging like they are, they have no hope. There's nothing else for them to do and look forward to in the inner cities. So they band together in rebellion against the society, and they start blaming people for the fact that they're not able to move forward. And that's usually going to be the white man. It's their fault that we live this way, and it's their fault I can't move ahead, and it's their fault I don't have anything, and it's their fault I'm having babies early, and it's their fault I dropped out of school, and so on. So they start banding together in rebellion. And that's when you start to smoking the weed and you're drinking together. And the more you drink and smoke together, the more you start coming up with more and more ridiculous ideas as to how we can get money. And then it starts to become robbing and shooting and all these other things. And so if you just look at what's going on in Chicago, for example, as just an example, because of the way people are going off in Chicago and killing each other, there simply is no future for them. There's nothing to occupy that dead time. And when we were coming up, they said an idle mind is what? The devil's workshop. So these people aren't doing anything constructive, and so now you've opened up the door for the devil to come in and try to lead you to do other things. So when you're killing kids and you're shooting just for the hell of it, it shows you that there's something terribly wrong with society as a whole. Now, if you were to suddenly find a way to put these people to work, let's say every billionaire on earth came into the black community and physically walked up to every gang member and said, I will change your life right now by putting money in your bank account and allowing you to fulfill your most wildest dreams, I think people wouldn't want to then keep shooting and killing each other because they would want to use that positive side of their mind to fulfill their dreams. But when the dreams are gone, nothing else is there to replace it. Eventually, something of this subcultural negativity is going to creep in. And that's what we have right now with these gangs in the United States.
P.I., what you think?
I think the gang problem is an economic problem. I definitely agree with that. I think when you have some cities where as much as 70% of the youth are unemployed, you're going to have problems, because when you give a lot of young and mature people a lot of free time, problems are what naturally occur. And even if they are mature, they're inexperienced at being alive. So there's still going to be problems that are going to occur, especially in a culture of poverty. So I definitely think there's an economic economic system in place that's fueling the gang culture. And even if we were to give them money now, it would be difficult to convince some of them to give up whatever easy cash that they're getting to actually go to work. Now, I do believe the majority of them want to work, but some of them, you would still have other issues to deal with, and that's where you start talking about the social issues and the cultural issues and the psychological issues of just wanting to belong to something, wanting to be a part of something, wanting to feel connected, wanting to feel loved, respected, wanting to feel all those other things that traditionally you would get from a community. But since we don't have any community, so to speak, they figured out ways to get those things on their own. I do think the gang members are our soldier class, if you will. I don't have a problem with gangs in and of themselves. I have a problem with their function. I have a problem with what they're doing now. I honestly feel like if we could repurpose those gangs to be something more, something better, something of benefit to the community, then we have a tremendous asset right now that's simply being unutilized, poorly utilized, misutilized, whatever you want to say about it, is not being used properly. And we've seen this in areas where we're able to go into certain small towns, certain small cities, and actually get the 1 or 2 or 3 gang leaders for the gangs in those areas together and get them to understand certain things about the way they live and how they can make it better. You begin to see neighborhoods turn around. I've seen this personally myself with a few neighborhoods in Tallahassee, Florida, talking with some gang members, and this is over the phone. This is not even actually being there. And hearing from some people talking about how the neighborhood has started to shift a little bit. Not drastic changes, of course, because they're still out there doing things on their own, and you need that system of support behind them to keep them from falling back to what's familiar. But you still see changes when you can begin to repurpose those groups to do things that are beneficial for the black community. When you begin to educate them, a lot of the gang members don't even know the original function of a gang. They're warring with people and they don't even know why. They're basically just doing what they're told because they want to fit in. So if you can go in and illuminate the darkness, if you can go in and show them things and make them feel worthwhile and make them feel like an important part of the community, make them feel like they have a voice, and then you can go in and approach it from an economic standpoint and begin to show them how what they're doing is economically depowering for the community at large and harmful for their future. But they can take those same skills, traits, and talents that they have for business, because I know everybody has all these assumptions. Everybody says being a drug dealer is not being a business. That's hogwash. Look, I'm speaking from experience now. Being a drug dealer is more like being a business owner than a lot of people care to give it respect for, than a lot of people care to credit it with. A lot of those young men and women in their gangs, if you really get down to the organization that's involved in some of the medium to large scale gangs, they could put some of these corporations to shame in the way that they've done things, the way that they've developed their own language, their own way of doing things, their own structures. They have their own culture within the group. And they exercise themselves a lot like a business. It's just, it's like if you take a business and you took the ethics out, you have a gang. So, and even in gang activity, there is a code of ethics. Outsiders just don't understand it. So, we go back into that. I've never spoken to a young man in juvie or anywhere else and had them say, man, I just killed him because whatever. Or I killed him because I was having a bad day. I stumped my big toe. No, there's almost always a reason. It might not make sense to us on the outside, but it makes perfect sense to them on the inside. They understand the code. They understand the culture. So, like I said, we just have to take these gangs. We have to repurpose them. We have to get them to understand what they're doing isn't necessarily beneficial, either for themselves or for the people around them, or for their brothers and sisters that are in those gangs with them. So if we can repurpose them and get them to move forward and see how they can move forward, continue to feel loved and feel important and feel feel a sense of belonging, and even better, how they could be viewed as even more important if they make these changes, how they can have even more respect, even more power if they make these changes, then I think we will have a very, very powerful force in the black gangs of America. But we have to approach them not as a problem that needs to be solved in the sense of doing away with, just in a problem that needs to be solved in a sense of development.
All good points. E.T., I know you got some thoughts on that because we was talking earlier. What do you think?
I think everything Patrick said, nothing more, nothing less at this point. Everything he said. That definitely sums it up.
Okay. And as far as I'm concerned, taking a page out of Patrick's book, listen, if you've never been in a gang, when we say that you don't understand, just like when we say if you've never been a drug dealer, you really don't understand. Just like we tell Caucasians, if you've never been black, then you really just don't understand. People don't understand gang culture, which is why all of the myriad different programs that they come up with, all of the intervention programs that they come up with are doomed to failure because they do not understand how the gang works. And it goes across the board. This could be a gang in Chicago. This could be a gang in L.A. This could be a gang or what they call a posse in New York. This could be a gang in Charlotte, North Carolina. It really doesn't matter. And it could be a black gang. It could be a white gang. It could be a Hispanic gang. It could be a lot of Asian gangs are the same way. This is how gangs work. It's all about manipulation. You have individuals, a small, very small group of individuals who are able to manipulate those ones that don't really know. A lot of people join gangs because they scared. I won't call them cowards, but they scared because they're surrounded on all points of the compass by people who basically mean them to do them harm. So if my choice is to walk to school 3 blocks going west, and in that 3-block walk, I'm going to run into 3 separate sets because they're not homogenous either. Just because you might be a gangster disciple or you might ride 6, as we call it in Chicago, doesn't mean that all of them like each other. Some of them are only tangentially involved with each other, which means you can get killed by a member of your own gang as easily as you can get killed by a member of the opposition. So people join gangs because of a sense of belonging, a sense of protection. They join gangs because basically they don't know any better, and like everybody said, there's nothing that has been presented to them to show them a better way. Yeah, we can tell them go to school and get an education. Well, my brother did that, and he unemployed. You see what I'm saying? Go to the military. You'll learn discipline. My sister went to the military. She just got out. She unemployed. All us live here with mama. You see what I'm saying? They'll tell you, okay, well, you got to stop black-on-black violence because you got to love your brother. But wait a minute, my brother just shot at me last night. It's deeper than just platitudes. That's what I call platitudinal interventions. We want to throw speeches and we want to throw phrases at the problem and not deal with the problem at its root. I think it was Patrick, it might have been Terry, that said earlier, that's where the Larry Hoovers and the Jeff Forts and those individuals that's doing multiple life bits in federal penitentiaries and been there for the last 30 years, that's where they come in, because they still hold weight with these kids. And these dudes have been in the penitentiary long enough to know that, hey, this has gotten out of hand, because this is not what we signed up for. And even though we don't want to say it's, the white man's fault that things are like that in the community, bullshit. It is their fault. because until crack cocaine hit Chicago was the large major city in the United States, go do the research, that crack cocaine invaded. Before crack got to Chicago, yeah, you had a gang problem. They was 100,000 strong, but you did not have the particular bloodthirstiness of those individuals that was involved in those gangs. It wasn't until the easy money that comes with selling crack got to Chicago that things just went all haywire. And where did that crack come from? The gang leaders didn't decide, okay, well, I want to go down to Colombia because they got this thing, this little white powder that you cook it up, you can make it into a rock, and people going to buy it, and it's going to destroy the community. They didn't come up with that idea. That idea came up from them. Came up, by somebody else for them. They were always looked at as the lowest. They like Walmart workers. A lot of people don't understand that about the economic side of it. A lot of those brothers is like Walmart workers. They don't make the money. The idea of the baller drug dealer, that's nonsense. That don't exist in America, believe it or not. Regardless of what you might see on the streets, those brothers is living drug deal to drug deal, just like I'm living paycheck to paycheck.
Yep.
And that's one of those things that, again, one of those, where do we go from here? That's going to have to be a part 2 to this story, because I need to get to topic 3. Florida Department of Corrections recently fired more than 30 guards involved, on the periphery of the deaths of, I don't think the article actually said how many, but numerous inmates while they were incarcerated. I'm almost sure that the brother who they boiled in the shower, I'm almost sure that was a Florida case as well. And my question to the panel is, why is this not a national story? Why are these individuals simply unemployed? You're fired, like you just got fired from Wendy's or something like that. Why are they not behind bars? Free for all. Anybody jump on it?
Go ahead, Terry.
All right. I'm the one that actually posted that on our page, and it was because when I saw it, the first thing I thought about is this clearly should be a nationwide, global scale story. You have security guards and officers who are claiming to be responsible and morally conscious citizens of the United States that are in these prisons acting like MF and terrorists. They're going at these criminals. They're treating them like dogs and animals. Yes, I understand they're there because they committed offenses. But the point is, you are not there to be their judge, jury, and executioners. And so when we take stories, again, like Ray Rice and all these BS issues that are really personal issues, and you play those up, but you play down 32 inmates who have been jacked up, killed by these guards, and all you want to do is make it a local Florida story, it tells you again the media has an agenda. And that agenda is to make sure that whatever you put out there that is negative must focus on black folks. If it involves a lot of white folks, you need to just try to keep it as low on the hush as you can. So that's why I posed it, because I was outraged at the fact that what they did to this one particular black inmate, what happened was that inmate defecated in his cell, and he refused to clean it up. So they went in there, and they started beating on him, and he still refused to clean it up. So they put him in this tiny-ass, small, closet-sized cell and turned water hoses on him like they did back in the 60s, high-powered hoses. until the man finally fell over and hit his head and fell dead in the shower. And they kept the water hoses on him till when they found him, some of his skin had actually come off of his body. Now, when I get pissed off, man, it's like that's when your anger has a right to come to the surface, because we're talking about human life. We're talking about people who claim to be on the moral side of human life, who then resort to acting like animals themselves, yet want to call black people the most violent people in America. It's bullshit. We are not. Anytime you have someone that has a gun and a badge and responsibility to the citizens of the United States of America, they need to exercise due caution, due diligence, and allow people to have their day in court, allow people to have their rights to be judged and treated fairly. So I'm outraged that this is not a national story in America, and that this is not global, because that's a lot of inmates who have lost their lives in just one prison institution in Florida.
Can I jump in there for a second?
Sure. Who is this?
This is Professor Carl Tone Jones. I've just been sitting back listening and enjoying the conversation again. One of the things that I know about the way the system treats us is that we don't get treated as fairly a human, because they place things socially and endure and they've created society with social engineering so that we are not ever to be seen as equals or seen as even people in this country. And the reason why the story is not a major story is because, just as you said, they want to paint a black face on everything negative, and they want to shove things they do under the carpet because it would project a different image of who they are. I have a book as well, and during our show,
we lost you, Professor.
That is unfortunate. Well, we know that the brother will be back. UI Jane, you were about to say something. Did we lose her as well?
Jane.
Hello?
She fiddling with her mute button.
Hello?
And do we have the professor back? I hear another voice. Is that Patrick, or was that professor that's back with us?
This is Al Tariq Atkins.
That's Al Tariq Atkins.
Oh, okay.
Woo-hoo! Well, peace to the panel, and I hope that everybody's doing all right. As far as how the prison system behaves and stuff like that, it's not the first time. It won't be the last. When we just look at the history, you look at Attica and different places like that, where there were certain rights that they were even fighting for, in which they wound up getting slaughtered and things being justified. And it's the same way as within the prisons as it's on the outside, basically. We have a people, when you look at the history of it all, that has always been, for the most part, judge, jury, and executioner. And it was always a reason, and it always is a reason just about, when it's come to justifying killing or hurting us, to the point of where it's just becoming like a police state for us, and every time I look up, I'm seeing things with brutality going on. So, of course, it would seem like in the jail where it's more so even kept in the closet, that they will be able to do more certain things. There's plenty of things that I'm pretty sure that we don't hear of that goes on in those type of prisons all the time, where people die and get killed, from lack of care, proper care, as far as, medical and all other types of reasons, let alone, I had been in that. I came from that life. And I've seen where they've let people stay in jail cells and people calling out, telling them after they were like having a heart attack and little different things like that, and people yelling, calling them CO, 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 CO for a half hour straight, and no one never came until the man died. I've seen instances like that because I have been through that, and it's been a long time now since I've been in that place. but I've seen that firsthand, where things happen and people get beat for no reason just about at times and stuff like that. So these are things that have to be fixed, but like how y'all said about gangs, this is a gang type of setting within these institutions. They are organized gangs. All the extensions that come from out of our system is an organized structure of gangs, from the military to the police to the CIA to the FBI, and all of those facets are actually gang-style facets, but they're organized in where they're saying we're the good guys, which they do good things too that you can't take away from them. But when it comes to us overall, if we're trying to galvanize to be positive in any manner, as things have been laid out in certain manifestos in the past, then they must neutralize us. And this is what's going on, and it's a lot of hatred for us out here. There's love for us out here too, but it's more hatred, more so than love, or things would change.
Those are good, solid points. Good, solid. See, again, it highlights what we all already know. So it's good that we as the hosts and moderators on here, we have our opinions, but when it's confirmed by other brothers and sisters, it means we all must be seeing the same things and understanding that the same situation exists.
The
show.
Professor back?
Yeah. I'm sorry about that. You have to excuse me. I have Sprint, so they cut me off.
Sprinted away on you. That's what it is. Sprinted away on you.
White supremacy.
Continue right on with the valid point you were making, brother.
Oh yeah, thank you, brothers and sister. Basically, what I was saying is we've been socially engineered to accept whites as docile, through the media out, based on their image. I mean, you think about when they were hanging us, and they're still doing that now today, but when lynching was at an all-time high, Jim Crow, you had shows like Leave It to Beaver on TV. You had shows like, Mayberry and all those good things, all those shows where they were pretty much made to seem innocent, docile, and genuinely kind. When you had us on television, we were always it was always some sort of blaxploitation, some type of slick-talking gangster. Even in our positive shows, we always had that sleazy character in the shows. So when you talk about the media's perception and how that has transpired, and you look at our treatment and how we're treated today, it directly correlates into the fact that people, when society as a whole, nationally and internationally, looks at our treatment, we're always deemed as less than worthy, and our value of life is deemed as less than worthy. And I'm not going to try to take up too much time because I know you guys are running up on it, but basically do that, and then laws that are put in place, as my brother Al Tariq was stating, these things have been put in place for a very long time. And you look at how socially we have not taken off the books the Dred Scott decision or the true definition of the 13th and 14th Amendment and how they apply to us, or the 3/5 Amendment and how they apply to us in terms of the way we're treated by the society. Then we'll come to the realization that we are not meant to be treated as equals in this country. We will only be meant to be made profit off of. And if they can't profit off us during our while we're on the streets, if they can't profit off of us with social systems, and as you guys were talking about programs that they put in place where they make millions upon millions of dollars, but while accomplishing absolutely nothing in our communities, then they put us in jail and create money off of us in the prison industrial complex. And they can't make money off of that, then they're harvesting our organs. But the bottom line is, we have to put our interest at heart, and we have to be the ones to come together and understand that if we don't pool our resources, if we don't generate our own economic structure where we can insulate ourselves and protect ourselves and utilize talking to these young brothers and sisters who are out here in the streets, because a lot of us talk around them, but very few of us talk to them and get their input and understanding, just as one of the brothers was saying earlier about us understanding the game mentality and understanding the culture. It's something that we can learn, and it's something that we can definitely teach them about in terms of how they can implement. We can even teach them the original history of the gangs, which were put in place to protect the black community from police brutality, and let's call it what it is. It's not just police brutality, it's police terrorism that's going on, and industrialized terrorism that's taking place. And we need to, if we can get into their minds and create that conversation, and if we can start to create that economic situation where we are self-employed, where we are building within our communities, where we are practicing group economic principles, then I believe that we can turn this thing around rather quickly. But we have to get into the minds and the hearts of our people first, and we have to address the people who are turning their backs on these children, because let's just face it, these children came into a world that wasn't prepared, and we didn't prepare for them. As elders, and I'm 40, so I'm speaking as an elder, we failed our children, and our parents failed our children, because we didn't create a situation where they were protected, where they were safe, yet and still we blame them for all the ills of society. So now they're defensive, and now they have no allies but each other. And that's when you have that gang mentality, because it's us against the world, and fuck everybody else that's in it. And basically, that's what we're dealing with right now. We have to bridge that gap, because these are our young brothers and sisters. These are our children, nieces and nephews. And if we don't stand by them and let them know that we love them and support them, and that we can bring them in on this, then not only is our present screwed, our future is done.
That's right.
All good
right.
points. All good points. And I need to put this particular topic to bed too. And this is another topic that we talk about some things that we can talk about for whole shows for days on end, because there is no one right answer that will solve that issue. For those of you who do know me and know me a little bit more personally than maybe everybody else out there that might be listening, but I have no shame in my game. I've been on vacation too. Just like Al Treek said, I've been on vacation too. And I've seen it all, from the 40-foot wall, maximum security concrete and steel, all the way down to the, rolling hills of grass and grain on the minimum security side as well.
Mm-hmm.
If y'all think that the Florida Department of Correction, if y'all think that was a scandal, man, that's not even the tip of the tip of the tip of the iceberg. You know what I mean? No. What happened in Florida, that's happening somewhere right now. Let me tell you something else, too. If we are believers that an individual can go to to Iraq or to Afghanistan and can come back a basically changed person, more hair-triggered, more violent, more irrational about things that should be rational to them, let me tell y'all something about being locked up. And if you read a book by somebody that, he's at Harvard or he's Yale and he's done the research and he's studied and he's talked to people, he don't know shit, because he ain't never been there. He never spent the night there, so he don't know. He is being taken to places that he is going to be absolutely safe. You see what I'm saying? So you take all them books, throw them books out the window. Talk to some of these brothers that's been there. Let me tell y'all something about prison. Jail is probably more violent than prison is, because you can't go nowhere. If you ever been in one of those sections that ain't nothing but steel, ain't even no damn concrete. Concrete is a little softer. If you ever been in one of those jail sections, there's nothing there but steel. And this changes individuals. You have individuals that go to jail for a few months or go to prison for a few years that were basically good people, just did dumb shit. And remember, most of them are there for non-violent crimes. And we're not talking about people who, to cut off heads and cut people up and, kill multiple. We're not talking about them people. We're talking about the vast majority of brothers that's in prison for having a dime bag of weed in their pocket and the wrong police pull up on them. Those individuals are coming back to our communities changed, which means that this is a perfect segue into what I want to talk about in an upcoming show. I got to put together particulars about it, and that's mental illness in the black community. One of those things that we don't want to talk about. We got those individuals, nigga crazy. She crazy. But we say it up under our breath. You see what I'm saying? Because we like to think crazy is something that happened to white people. No, crazy is something that happened in our hoods too. Because some of the things that you see around our hoods, there is no other explanation for why those things exist other than mental illness. But with that, we're running up on the end of the show. I wish my guy Jackson was on so he can give us his 2 minutes of positivity. But today, since we have other visitors to the show, let me see, who am I going to call on that might be here? Al Treek, you still with us?
Yes, sir, bro.
Give me 2 minutes of positivity for the end of our show.
Yeah, for the end of our show, when you say for the head of our show, what do you mean by that?
For the end of our show. At the end of our show, what we basically do. I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
Yeah, you said at the end of our show, we talk about positive things, about what we were speaking on.
No, not necessarily that. Whatever comes to your mind, we give a positive thought. So even though our show might seem negative for most of it, we like to leave everybody with a positive thought in their mind, not necessarily about anything specific.
Mm-hmm.
Read a proverb. Read some ayats out of the Quran. Whatever you want to do. Talk about something positive.
Yeah. The main thing, I'm glad that you said that, because that was something that I was speaking to somebody about yesterday. And that's as far as our people coming together, as far as not bashing one another because of ideologies. And I see that as a big wall, dividing ourselves, let alone walls that's been put up by outsiders. And my thing is, regardless of ideologies, we are still the same people, And since like Brother Malcolm had said many years ago, if we don't, it doesn't matter if we're Christian or Muslim or whatever, because when we're getting pulled over by police and killed and all that, they don't ask you your religion before they shoot you or beat you in your head. So with that said, I just wish that that we can come together, in peace and love, and be able to help elevate each other, because that which you love, you help to elevate it, and that's a problem that's going on big time in our communities today, is that we need more love, because where there isn't love, then most of the time it's replaced by hatred, so we have to get beyond that, and we have to learn more of the knowledge of ourselves, learn more about history, because if you don't understand your history, you don't understand your present, and it's sad today that I even see a lot of younger people, within these younger generations, a lot of them in the area where I'm at, the main people who they know of is Martin Luther King, really. They don't really even know about, because I'm in Alabama, they don't really know about George Washington Carver. And he did a lot for the state of Alabama, and I just wish that we can keep, firm with our roots, because without roots we don't have anything, so I just pray for the betterment of our community. I pray for all of you that's doing what you're doing and spreading the knowledge and the love and the passion for our people, because it's needed, it's direly needed. And I'm proud of where you came from to be able to tell the stories that you have, although I haven't got to hear many of them, and I'm hoping I get to hear more of them in the future, sir, as far as the moderator's concerned. And it's just a good thing to be able to experience the people who want positive change and growth and development for our people.
And I thank you for that, brother. And if anybody else wants to know the backstory, I have a article on the old urban intellectual called One Day Shy that y'all can go pull that up and y'all can read that. But with that, we are going to end our anniversary show number 25, this September the 23rd, 2014. It's 4 days before my birthday. Now that I think about it. But in any event, so, presents will be accepted. I want to thank everybody that called into the show and everybody that was, personally involved with the show, including two just bolts of lightning out of the sky, Professor Carl T. Jones, Altric Atkins, and as usual from Terry Banks, from UI Jane, and from Patrick Irvine, I'm Jalal Tariq, and I thank you guys for joining UI Daily Show. We'll be here tomorrow. Don't forget, Go to urbanintellectuals.com/members if you want to become a member of our group. It's $24 a year, $2 a month. If you just want to donate, you can go to urbanintellectuals.com/donate, and you can give to your heart's content. And so until tomorrow, we signing off. Peace.